You looking for me, you can find me at the barbershop. Pulling up to get a cut, bumping through the parking lot. I keep it clean, Rico's where I'm running to. If you in the city, then you probably gonna be coming to. Gang getting down, Red's getting down, Nick getting down, Ron getting down, just to name a few. Everybody blade on point. You trying to get fresh, I'm telling you this the joint. Hands down, top shop up in this vicinity. Promises age 9, LaRon been getting me. Temper on the side, I'm trying to grow out the waves.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the K.O.S. Knowledge Yourself Barber Club podcast, where we discuss the collection of wisdom on the science of everything in life. And we do so by interviewing our guest, talking about his upbringings as a kid all the way to like young adulthood and adolescence, and then to where we're at today. And we do that by discussing their self-awareness, knowledge of self, and how they develop a self-concept. Today, I brought me a friend of mine that I've known for over 10 years, or maybe 15. And I wanted to bring him in because he's a content producer, director of digital media and production for various brands there's a lot of them because I'm not going to name all of them. But without further ado, my good friend, Christopher Michael Diaz.
What's up, friends?
What's
up,
Chris?
Jay, man? Long time no see, brother.
I'm
You
going to
good?
give you a left because the right's far.
It's okay. It's okay. It's
But
okay.
don't worry. Just take a little
It's all
cheers
the
to
same.
that.
Cheers to
Always
long
dies. Always
friendship.
dies.
Yeah,
Oh, it's been forever.
Too long.
So, yeah, man, I was explaining to you the podcast.
Yeah, man. Actually, coming out here, I didn't know what to expect. You know what I'm saying? I just know we was gonna chat. I mean, again, since we've been friends for quite some time, this should be pretty easy, right?
Yeah, because you're used to being behind the camera.
Used to be behind the camera. I could dance a little bit in front of it, but it's been a long time, But man, happy to be out here. Looks great in here. Jesus Christ, I wasn't expecting this. Yeah, this is a vibe.
Cool, man. I'm a
This
believer
is a vibe.
that
Okay.
if you want to do something, do it right.
Proud of you, man.
Yeah,
It's
thank
good,
you, sir.
It's good out here.
We're trying to help people as much as we can. I mean, whatever we could do, right?
Yeah.
And I got the idea when I spoke to my girl after we watched Sound of Freedom. You saw that movie?
No.
That's the one that the human trafficking with the kids.
No.
Yeah, it's a story about an actual, I think it's a DEA agent or CIA, one of the two, that he was trying to catch all the human traffickers.
Okay.
But he kept arresting the ones that really didn't matter. And then the movie pretty much shows how he went and rescued kids in Colombia and he got set them free and all that. So to get to the point, my girl at the end was distraught. She's like, this is real. Oh, my God, we got to do something.
Yeah.
I'm like,
the world is crazy as hell right now.
What are we going to do?
Well, it's been crazy, but yeah.
She wants to go to the border and help them out. I was like, that's not going to do anything.
Right.
I'm like, the only way you're going to do it is by helping people have knowledge of self, have people realize and analyze situations where they can make better decisions.
Yeah.
So I was telling her, like, bro, every time a person sits in my chair, a client, new or old, we always cut it, talk, we chill. And then we might drop a gem. He might teach me something. And then from that, we'd speak to our families.
Yeah.
And then we tell them what we know. And then they tell their kids and it spreads. So I'm like, yeah. And then she's like, damn, you got to do that, but like with more audience.
Okay.
So I was like, how do I do this? And Roger from Creative Currency, I cut his hair and we always chop it up. And he's always telling me, you need to make a podcast. This needs to be a podcast. And I'm like, looking at him like, yeah, okay, I guess. Yeah, I'm going to figure it out. I don't know how to do it. And then he's like, what do you mean? This is what I do. I'm like, oh. So everything just sparked. I was like,
right.
Wow. So then I told my girl and she's like, whoa, you could reach a lot of people like that. So then that's how we created K.O.S.
Well, wish you the best of luck. I mean, it's dope. So far, so good. I like the vibes in here. I really like the, again, I've seen you come up from a long way.
You could say it, humble beginnings.
Humble beginnings. So it's good to see the growth of you, other people too as well. There's also a lot of people there that also haven't been growing, right? So,
I mean, in due time, and everybody has their, what do they call it? 15 minutes of fame.
Yeah.
Pretty soon or later, maybe twice.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. So knowledge yourself. We usually like to start like. I asked the guest, like, where did they have the spark? Because I've been talking about the spark lately.
Man, so I've been talking about this topic for quite some time already, at least the last half year. I've been kind of mentoring, so part of my job. I like how you broke down what I do, right? But yeah, I'm a content producer. I work in the beauty space. Basically, what I do is I control the internal agency of my company, and again, we have 9 different beauty brands across the world, right?
9 different brands across the world.
Beauty brands, hair, makeup.
So what's one of the big ones? Because I know I read some, but I didn't want to.
Well, I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with IGK, right?
Yes.
It's probably one of the bigger salons out here. Well, they doubled up after that. After they became a successful salon, they ended up, coming up with a product line. So what we did, we developed a product line with them from scratch. And man, right now they're one of the hottest brands on the market.
And you're their marketing director.
No. I'm their the pretty fancy title would be their executive director of digital media, right? But I'm just really their producer. That's just a little too corporate for me.
Got it. So you're the producer of
I'm
all
the producer,
their
all the content you see, the
digital
photography,
content or whatever it may be,
from their creative execution, commercials. I mean, top to bottom, like everything it takes to sell a brand digitally. And
all right,
and
so
visually.
that's dope. Because I see that you're making moves. I see you're happy. You got married. You're like in the crib. You're starting a family.
Yeah.
This is cool.
Yeah.
So let's go from the beginning.
Okay.
Like your first conscious thought when you were a kid.
Man,
like
crazy.
when you first thought of something that you're like conscious.
I'm gonna tell you a story about like how I came up, right? And just like I'm a big believer that certain things happen to you at certain times in your life.
For sure, it was written.
And they develop. You develop and you
Yes.
evolve as a person. Some people don't develop, some people do, right? And man, growing up, I went to a pretty well-known private school here in Miami. Gulliver Prep. You know what I'm saying? Shout out, class of 04. Let's
Miami
go.
Beach always whooped that ass in soccer, yo. Okay, go ahead.
And man, I, from high school, I was a pretty good kid in a sense where I didn't indulge myself into, I guess, too much trouble, right? More like the carajito bullshit.
Your vibe is always on the positive. Yeah.
It wasn't until I experienced college where I started to experience like a little darker side, And I like to tell this story because it's important to know. Again, this sounds like a giant cliche, but it's so true. You need to know where you came from to know where you're going.
Word.
Right?
Word.
You always need to reflect back on that. And one of the things that when I went to college, man, I went to like this really dark fucking phase.
What college was this?
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. We'll get to that after.
Okay.
We'll get to that after. But man, I was just in a place where I needed to kind of get out of. I've always been a leader of my group.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And, living in Miami, it's no secret that, drugs, alcohol could be one hell of a.
What are you talking about?
It can take you either really low, or really high, like literally, right?
It's literally like the ocean out there.
And man, but you could do all the drugs in the world, but if you're not productive or you're not doing things in life, like you're going through another.
Yeah,
you're going through another hole.
I know people that are productive.
Yeah.
And they're also like destructive.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And I'm like, how do you do this?
Well, also too, man, there's also the physical of the body and what it does. I mean, we don't want to jump into that.
Exactly.
Long story short, I was heading in a direction that just didn't feel right.
Okay.
So one day, after a bunch of scenarios and a bunch of getting in trouble and bullshit, I woke up one day. I said, I don't want to do this any fucking more.
What, the partying, the hardcore?
The hardcore partying and just getting consumed by the Miami lifestyle, right?
Okay, so where in life do you think you gained that knowledge to be able to make that decision?
My failure.
All throughout your
adulthood?
So
the failure, it will come later. This is what I realized later. Like right now, we're talking about like me in the midst of it all, living the Miami lifestyle, living in the moment, you're saying, and just not giving a fuck about it.
Yeah, but like I'm trying to
figure out. Can I curse out here, by the way?
Of course, you can fucking curse all you want. What I was thinking was, okay, when you're a kid, you know what I'm saying? You're innocent.
Yeah.
So you're pretty much taking in all the experiences. And because of good and bad experiences, it helps you think.
Yeah.
Some people listen to their intuition, and then you become to make decisions without having to ask other people that you trust. Why? In my case, everybody was not there. Like in the sense, they were in the hustle and bustle, and one was working, one was doing this. This one doesn't want to speak English. This one is fighting with this one. And I'm in a family of like 12 coming to Colombia in a 2-bedroom apartment. It was nuts, bro.
Yeah.
So I had to always kind of like step back and kind of analyze things. And I was always pretty well read because we didn't have cable and all that shit. So you would grab books. And then in school, I discovered libraries and shit. And then my mom also made me read encyclopedias. So I started YouTube Googling before YouTube Google.
Nice.
So that's when I started learning.
At YouTube University always comes in clutch, huh?
Now.
Yeah.
But when I was reading the books, I would read things that you would like look up now, like dumb shit. Like just, like apes travel in packs, like little tribes. And I was like, oh shit, I learned that a long time ago.
Right.
So you keep learning, you start making better decisions.
Yeah.
Which is why, again, I made the podcast, because we can help people learn little things, drop gems.
Right.
So that's what I want to know. Because that story, amazing story, but then you made a decision to not go forward with the rest of the days living like you were.
Yeah.
So what was the spark that helped you understand that decision?
I just got myself and sat. I saw my life, my life as a movie, right? Obviously, I'm in the production world, so I sat down and said, "How do I want my movie to kind of end?" You know, and I was looking at, and I was watching this.
So you threw away the script.
And I'm watching my movie, and I'm like, "Damn, this ending ain't gonna be so good if I keep going this direction." So, I was dating some girl at the time. She was a dancer. And she was, doing a lot of casting and so on and so forth. And I remember one day I took her to a casting, and one of the casting directors looked at me. She's like, "Hey, you can, do you want to audition?" It's like,
for what was it? A video?
It was actually for like a BET commercial, like years ago.
Cool.
Right? It's like, well, okay, fine. Go in there, smash it. I got the role. She did it. Right. Another story. Right. So, and I remember being on set, my first day on set, and my first experience of just like seeing all these lights and this production crew. I remember seeing a guy, he was a Steadicam operator. That's actually,
How old were you at the time?
Man, I must have been like maybe 19, around that range, maybe
So
19.
straight out of high school.
Straight out of
as a kid,
high
just
school.
played sports, football, had fun.
Yep.
Didn't really
Had that
relate
year
any type of
when I
experiences.
graduated, just went crazy through the Miami life, the streets, and
then when you had to take it seriously,
when I had to take it seriously,
this opportunity arose.
Well, this opportunity was just more like the spark. It was more like the little. It was more like a reminder. Like it'll come. You'll see what I mean by that later on, right? I was like, I'll put that their way.
Okay,
Let me
go.
hold on to that, right? So, I talked to this guy, and he was like, "Hey, man, this is a pretty cool job." He had like he was a Steadicam operator, so he had this whole giant contraption walking around. I'm like, "Bro, how do I do that?" So the guy pulled me to the side. We were eating lunch, and listen, production eats with production, and the talent, or in this case, background eats with the background, right? So. The guy actually took the opportunity to actually pull me to the side and, "Hey, listen, you really want to know how to do this?" And he started telling me about going to production school, so on and so on and so forth. So he gave me a gem, right? And he was just telling me a bunch of, different things. Obviously in Miami at that time, there wasn't like a lot of production schools here. Plus I needed to get the fuck out of Miami.
I think Full Sail was like the only thing.
Yeah, Full Sail up in Orlando, right?
That was the only one I knew.
So one day, like I said, let's fast forward a little bit. Through all of my bullshit, with all the drugs, one day I had a fucking episode, and I said, I'm in the bathroom, I'm having a fucking full breakdown. Yes, I had a fucking awakening, okay? Yeah. And that awakening is probably the best thing that ever happened to me, right? Because it propelled to a bunch of other different things. But I said, "Bro, I don't want this anymore." And I remember what that guy said to me, what I had to do. And I felt like this could be an avenue for me. So I started doing research, started applying to schools. And I remember that one day there was like this ad that I was looking at. So I also lived in New York for a while, right? In middle school. So I went to New York at some point.
What were you doing out there in middle school? Going to school?
I was going to school. So I'm born in Miami, but a lot of my family's in New York, so I was a badass kid. So they took me to New York for a bit. And I learned the fucking hard way that, shit ain't always sweet. That was a whole different environment.
You realize.
Yeah, I thought I was a Miami guy, cocky as shit, going out there.
Like send him over there. He'll learn.
Exactly. And then when you start seeing kids in the hallway bigger than you, like,
yeah. It gets real.
Shit gets real, right? Yeah. So scared me straight, right? But I was in New York just visiting. I remember that there was like this pamphlet that came in for the New York Film Academy, right? I left it there and I kind of put it to the side. Came back home to Miami, right? And I told my mom, I called mom, "Hey mom, there's a pamphlet that I left in my room that's there. Can you send it over to me or take a picture of it, And then I applied for it. And she took a picture, sent it to me. I applied for it. I got in. Didn't tell none of my friends, by the way. This is key because I think, sometimes
you didn't tell them because you didn't want them to know that you probably failed at it?
No, I didn't tell them because I just wanted to do this myself. Like I didn't want nobody to sway me a certain way. I didn't want anybody to just have an opinion because I just wanted to take control of my life, right?
Dope.
So I said, "Fuck it, I'm out." There was only one guy that I did tell, a good friend of mine. We went to high school together. He's like, "Yo, fuck it, I want to go to New York too." So he applied for school out there too as well. He went to art school. He got in, and we did we did our New York hustle for a bit, right?
How long were you there for? Like a semester, 2 semesters, a year?
No, we were there for like 3 years.
Wow.
Some change. Okay. After that, I mean, that's when now I have an avenue, right? I'm gonna be this giant music video director, and my brain's going all over the place. And
this is what, early 2000s, right?
This is early 2000s.
This is when hip hop and the whole.
Yeah, this is early 2000s. And then, man, I just found my lane, you know, or at least I know the direction I wanted to go in, right? And I believe that once you're in a lane, you got to hyper focus on where you want to go within this lane, right?
Right.
So, me and my boy, we were just out there just living the New York life. And, bro, I learned a lot, you know. Where I learned the most is when I was done with school.
Okay.
And then I went to California.
Yeah, I remember that. I went to visit you. That was an experience, guys. That's when I learned when the box says 200 milligrams, it's real. I didn't know what 200 milligrams was, but I learned over there with Chris. Thank you, Chris. That was a great life lesson.
Yeah, man. California really humbled the shit out of me, right? There, I did a bunch of different jobs in the industry. I started off in the casting world. Well, I started off doing background work, like
everybody else. Mike Risco was here, and Mike told me the same story.
Everybody starts. It's the same shit.
You have to climb up the ladder.
Go to LA casting. You put your headshots, and then that's it, right? You're a bunch of different sets, getting paid like snickle for its being out there, right? But regardless, I was able to meet people and just conversate and kind of work my way
in the
through
environment.
Then I had another good friend of mine who introduced me to this casting director. And from there, that's where I was kind of trending in the writer direction, right? I got to learn a little bit more of like how producing works from a casting standpoint. And then that's when I fell in love with it. I worked on an HBO show called Luck. At the time, after like the second season, they canceled it, which we could get into that a little bit later. That's how I transitioned back to Miami. But man, I just got it to finally like really love just the producing, being in the camera, hustle and bustle.
So has the spark already happened, or it's still not building?
Well, they transitioned into where I needed to be at, right? So again, I remember as we started this conversation talking to you about me want to be a music video director and having all these, I want to do documentaries, and I just want to do 100 different things, right? And I think once you have 100, when your brain is going 100 different ways, you can't be a master.
Yeah,
That one specific thing, right? So I, again, after being in casting, I also did camera work. Then I transitioned to being a cinematographer / steady camera operator. So when I became a steady camera operator, at least getting my certification for it, man, I was getting booked on a lot of different shows, you know, and because now I have a specialty job in the industry.
And you're good at it.
So, and then they canceled the show for legal and other fucking crazy reasons.
That must suck, yo.
So then I had to move my ass back to Miami, or at least I said, you know, let me give Miami a shot, right? I also was dating who now is my wife. She was my girlfriend at the time. We were going back and forth. She would come see me every other month.
She lived in Miami.
She lived in Miami, right? So I guess there's another reason for me to kind of go back home, you know? And then after I did that, we came back to Miami. I was, you know, probably one of the very few Steadicam operators in Miami at the time. Okay. So I was, like I always like to say this, like in California, you know, you're a tadpole in the sea versus like me being here, I'm like a fish in a pond, right?
Do you need certification for all that, or you just need the gear?
I mean, listen, then you did. Nowadays, with all the new stabilizers and all the new gadgets that are out, like you kind of really don't. You know?
Yeah, because I remember seeing you in Bayside. I don't know what artist video that was that. It was the real deal.
Yeah.
I was like, yo, this is a real deal production. And you had the Steadicam, and it's crazy. You look like a Navy SEAL. Like,
yeah,
for people that don't know.
It had its moments. Some
people don't understand. The Steadicam is like a vest, right? You put that vest on, and then it has this handle, and then it has another handle.
Called the arm.
Arm, sorry. Thank you. And he has an arm, and it doesn't matter how fast you move. If you drop it, it stays stabilized. Like,
yeah.
So that's how you see this.
This is when before all those new gadgets came out.
That's how they filmed Rocky.
Yeah, you go. Exactly.
I learned that
in a gang of different movies, right?
No, but that was the first time they used it in Rocky.
So I come back to Miami, and man, I started getting hit up. Started getting a lot of more jobs, you know? And through ups, downs, mind you, by the way, through all this whole journey, I failed a million times. Like so many fucking bullshit that happened in California that brought me to where I'm at now.
Yeah, but you kind of knew that was gonna happen, no? Or you thought it was gonna like everybody else, like, oh, I'm gonna become this big, huge producer, director, whatever.
For me, I thought that I was gonna be I'm a very confident guy.
Yeah.
I come off that way, you know, and I live and die by that. In my brain, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be this mega superstar director, yada 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 yada, right?
Yeah.
Once I got behind the camera and I started being a little more camera work, I was like, you know what? Maybe I like this a little bit more, right? Not so in front, maybe not so front center.
Why do you think it's so difficult out there to get to that point? Is it the environment? Is it the gatekeepers? Fill us in, because you were there, man. So like that, with all that knowledge you acquired when you came down here, I'm sure decision making was way easier.
You know, when it comes to production, when you like the real deal, like big time budget kind of scenarios, there's like, it's almost like a group of guys that stick together, right? Like a little clique, right? Some of the best in the world have been doing. They're old as shit,
and they keep
right. And then you also have a union that protects you, right? And we're talking about California, right?
Okay.
Now it's a little bit different when it comes to these rules, because everyone has a camera and everybody can shoot anything now.
Yeah, you don't.
Their cameras are much. We were shooting on red ones that were like this big.
Yeah.
You know, now we got things that are like this big now.
Yeah.
You know, so different times. But I think as far as controlling it, I think people like to work with the same people around, and there's also a level of respect too for that, right?
Yeah, so it's like teams,
Right.
Somebody has to finish their contract or get to the retirement age.
Yeah.
Bring somebody else.
And also too, at this time, social media wasn't like a thing, right?
Yeah, no, it wasn't.
It wasn't booming yet, right? It was like it's like it was just, you know,
YouTube
infant
was
stages.
young.
Yeah, YouTube was young. But I think for the most part, the industry has evolved quite a bit.
Yeah, you were telling us about that now Miami's starting to develop itself as a place where you could do that, right?
Absolutely. You know, again, like, you know, New York used to be the Mecca, or California even more the Mecca,
Even more,
right? Now, you know, through changes, we could talk about political, we could talk about just like, you know, the story goes on, right? On just like,
tricks.
it's just not the same game in these bigger, you know, cities anymore,
Correct.
right? So we already know that Miami is like one of the hottest cities in the United States right now. So it's you know, everything just came over here. They're all leaving other different places. And if it's not Miami, they're going to Georgia. If they're not going there, they're going to New Mexico. If they're not here, they're going somewhere else. So studios are moving out for a lot of different reasons.
Okay.
And again, just content is just growing everywhere. Content was developed in these two big old places.
Did you foresee this? Did you feel it? Did you have an intuition?
So it's funny, all these big YouTubers, and I'll leave them nameless. I saw these guys come up when they were like nobodies.
You remember them?
I definitely remember them, and these guys are doing well. And
I think we all know who he's talking about.
There's a couple. There's a couple. They're all doing well, and great for them. They took advantage of the industry.
Yeah.
They saw something before it even happened. You know what I'm saying? These guys are the pioneers of it. You know, you could respect that, right? But now everybody can get a phone, and anybody can be an influencer at that. You know, so there's more opportunity, which is great. I guess
that's with everything. That's with, like you said, cameras, music, anything.
We'll tell you this. There's a lot of, nowadays, you don't have to go to school to be at least, call yourself a filmmaker, right?
Oh, of course not. You got all the information.
You got all the information. You have all of the YouTube University, like we were talking about earlier. You know what I'm saying? I know guys that I think are a good friend of mine, Michael Russell. This guy is a beast. This guy was doing music, this wasn't part of his lane. And I think he's one of the most talented guys here in Miami. Good friend of mine. Again, another YouTube University kind of guy, So he's a great example amongst other people. And again, these are guys that I've talked to. I've been able to share my journey with them and to give them advice. He's just one of many. Nice. He's like the one that I just work with a lot, and I just have a lot of respect for him.
All right. So okay. So take us there. You came to Miami. What happened next?
So I come to Miami. I started getting booked on just a lot more shit. And then I had a business partner at the time. This is funny. This is how I got into where I'm at now, right?
Okay.
We see Craigslist was a thing at the time, right? Sketchy, sketchy.
Like, wait, hold on.
And he's like, "Hey, dude, I see this ad for this production. Again, we were struggling filmmakers trying to come up." And I was like, "Oh, well, where's it at?" He's like, "Well, we look at the address. Oh, it says Little Haiti." I was like, "Oh, fuck that, I'm not going." He's like, "Chris, come on, let's just go."
Yeah.
Right? It's like, all right, this is like 10 years ago. Let's just call it, right? I'm like, all right, fine, fuck it. Let's just go,
Yeah.
I get in the car. He's driving. and we pull up to Design District, which Design District at the time
Yeah.
wasn't,
Doesn't look like it
doesn't
now
look like it is
at
now.
all.
But still, it was a beautiful building. So I was like, oh shit, okay, this is not what I thought. Park the car, get inside. We get inside to the office. I see like just a bunch of desks and a bunch of like little heads, and they're all females. And I'm like, oh shit, I can get down with this, right?
Yeah.
And the CEO comes out. He walks out. He shakes my hand. Hey, Chris. My name is Ted Finger. That's his name, Ted Finger. And he pulls me to the side. We go into his office. My partner. He's like, oh, we got this concept we wanted to shoot. And he tells me, well, I ask him, okay, well, when do you want to shoot it? He's like, oh, I want to shoot it right now.
Oh, wow.
And me being like the chameleon that I am, he's like, are you guys ready? And I was like, yeah, sure.
Did you have your gear?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Go.
So I lied. I didn't have my gear. But one thing but that I learned in living in New York and living in California is that you got to make it happen. You can't panic, and you got to be able to make it happen no matter what. At the end of the day,
where'd you pick up that trait? Just
getting scolded 100 times and fucking up 100 times.
So falling 99 times, getting up 100.
Exactly.
Noise.
Learning through my failures, right?
Message.
So I said, I got you. I told my partner, I said, listen, I need you to get the fuck out of here. We need to build sets, and now where they needed to, get makeup on. There was a couple of I procrastinated a little bit.
Let's talk about something.
I said, fly, fly. Finally, comes back. I'm beating around the bush. No, it's not ready yet. It's not ready yet. And all of a sudden, my guy gets there. Okay, you'll set up the camera. We're going, and then we shot it. And that was, again, this is something that came out of nowhere. We shot it. And then ended up having to showcase that video at a follow-up event by the same company. Okay. So they were hosting something in Vegas where they had like all the corporate event from everybody all over the nation came, and they had like an award show, right? So we showcased the video, and then me and my business partner at the time, we were the fucking man. After they showed the video, it was like one of the funniest parody videos that we've ever done. Wow. Basically we got all these executives, all these like big board executives, CEO, CFO.
So you wrote the
COO.
Storyboard, you produced the whole thing?
No, yeah, so they wanted to do, actually it was pretty easy in the sense where they just wanted to do a parody video of Miley Cyrus Wrecking Ball.
Got it.
So I had to get a bunch of grown men to just dress up in makeup and sing this song, right? Which that's another story, another day. But it was once we showcased it at the award show a couple weeks after in Vegas, bro. Everybody loved us, right? So
it was a hit.
So a couple months after that, they offered me a job. And here I am there, 10 years after with these guys.
So that was the beginning. What year was that?
That was 2000 and maybe 3, 4.
So knowledge.
I'm sorry, 2014. What am I talking about?
So you spoke of high school. So high school is where I think you developed the self-concept and the energy with the confidence to tackle all these obstacles.
Yeah.
Because when you went to college, you were having a blast, and I know you like to have fun.
Yeah. So it was a good time.
But you got to a point that you're like, I gotta change.
I had to chill because I just saw my life just go in a different direction. Yeah.
You went to Cali.
No, from there, when I said to make the change was actually when I went to New York.
That's right. New York, 3 years.
Right. 3 years. And then
that environment, that movement, that energy shifted.
I came back to Miami for a little bit after New York, and I was like, I don't want to get sucked up into this shit, Yeah, and then I ended up, I started doing some work here in Miami for, small time stuff. Started working on all the nightlife stuff, and that's how I got to know some of these bigger nightlife guys that are doing things now, And then I said, I got to get out of here. So I had Cali, and then, like I said, I met a friend of mine.
Fell a couple times.
Another Miami boy who was already living in California. He's like, yo, come over, And that's where it all started, right?
Wow. Yeah. That is awesome. And then, I remember I visited you in Cali. That's when I learned about edibles. It's crazy story. And then I got back here, and then I remember I think like a year later you came after that when we went to visit you.
Yeah, just about.
And that's when you were staying over there by Miami Park, right?
No,
with the pops in the crib.
No, he was like by a Tropical Park.
Tropical Park, sorry.
Yeah.
So that's when you were making those moves.
Yeah, so I was making those moves, and then
that time you were doing the Steadicam thing. You were dabbling.
I was trying to find out my lane.
Exactly. That's what I want.
What I love.
You to share.
What I love is that, man. So the company that I work for now, that I was telling you about, like I said, it's called Luxury Brand Partners. So what we do is that we're like an incubator. We own a bunch of different brands across the globe, right?
Yeah.
However, your girl's favorite.
I read a couple of them.
And they hair was never like a thing for me, right? But working with like, giving a brand its identity and just kind of making content around that and running the internal studio was something that really was not really like somewhere I didn't think I was gonna go. Like I wanted to do documentaries, music videos, and once I found my niche, I guess they set me up in a way, and I'm always very thankful for them. For putting me in a position that were like, hey, Chris, try this out, and I loved it. Hair, beauty, a lot of editorial stuff. I get invited to do a lot of cool things. Yeah, it was a little bit. It was a little bit of definitely a lot of big learning curve there, right? So
you adjusted well, though, no?
Because the thing is about when you work in an incubator company like that, there's so many different personalities, right? So one of my biggest talents over the years has been adjusting my tone or how I speak to certain people. For example, you have your luxury brand,
and
right?
You learned that from going from Miami, New York, Cali. So
exactly.
You were in different coasts, different cultures, different environments, and you learned. You took all that energy.
All that energy, and I applied it to a little bit. And now you know how to
produce something and with different types of personalities.
So then you have your luxury brands, right? Where it's a little bit more editorial, something a little bit more sleek, elevated, right? And then you have more of like your TikTok brands, right? Or it's a little bit more youthful, fun, cool kid, right? So there's different. You got to adjust to that toner all the time.
So where do you search for like inspiration or direction?
It's crazy to say, but just watching Instagram, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Social media.
I think Instagram knows what I want to look at, and it feeds me the right things where I'm like, look at something, I'm like, damn, this is cool as fuck. Like, it's really like it's always a constant reference,
right? You use the algorithm.
I use the algorithm. It's funny. I'm not as active on social media because I'm worried about all the other social medias of all the other brands, right? But I love that I gain inspiration from social media because a lot of people doing a lot of cool shit out there.
You put the main focus on the brand's Instagram because you're running it, so you're concentrating. And you're leaving yours for last.
And there's always some beauty stuff that comes on. There's always like that high editorial. I mean, listen, being in this company, I've never been a photographer, but I could shoot the shit out of a lot of different things. And I could shoot at a high level when it comes to editorial. But I could also, get grimy and get grungy with it too as well. Being in a company like this, the one that I work for, I'm always going back and forth.
They give you the freedom to do what you do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Dope.
And that took a long time to get.
Was that a conversation or that was straight up the way that
show me. It's more of like earn that shit.
Got it.
Yeah. Nothing was given like in that sense. Like, and again, I work with a lot of different people. So a lot of people didn't trust me. A lot of people didn't like me at the beginning. Like, the CEOs and the big dogs on top, they like me. You know what I'm saying? But I think the people that got to collaborate on a day-to-day basis, that's a different conversation and who you got to work with on a day-to-day. So once I build the trust with them, and the founders of the brands and so on and so forth, I felt like I failed enough in that and to know like, hey, this is the right way. So I'm fortunate to be in a position where I work for a company and like do what I fucking love. Yeah.
What's next, man? What are you planning on doing with the company? Are you gonna stay and create some more, or are you gonna create your own little production studio? What's going on?
It's funny. Everyone always asks me this, and I love what I do. I want to continue in the beauty space. Women or men are always going to buy beauty products for the rest of their lives, right? Can I go ahead and open up shop and be, run a creative agency? Of course I can, and that's not anything that I will not be open to. Right now, I'm pretty cool in just the beauty space that I'm at and just being one of the top dogs.
So you're mastering it.
You're mastering it, right?
And you're almost there?
I think so.
Do they have awards? Because I know you'll probably get nominated or going.
There's a couple there. Nice. There's always a couple there. So we'll want to make sure we get to that level. But right now I'm just focused on the growth of the brand, the growth of the identity of the brand, like from a visual standpoint, and obviously sales too as well. But again, I love what the fuck I do, bro. I'm very blessed.
Nice. So you got to this place from the decision making you made, which one was like, I can't do this. I got to stop. I got to get out of here. Yep. And you got awareness from the sports athleticism or the guidance of family? Or how did you get to there?
My family's always been great to me. I grew up with a great dad, grew up with a great mom.
Your dad's a doctor.
My dad's a doctor. My mom was a flight attendant, and one of the things I appreciate about my mother, and which at turn is also a big reason as to why I married my wife, is that my mom was always been a hustler, right? She's like, you don't got to depend on no dude. You know what I'm saying? And that's something that has always been instilled in me. My mom was a hustler, hardcore
So
hustler.
you saw her do it, and you're like, I got
and worked hard, and so does my dad. My mom didn't have to work. My dad's a doctor and a successful one at that. So, but they never gave me anything like that. They, again, with all the
they made
preparatory
you
school,
work for it, which
made me
was
work
a good
for it, which
trait.
is I appreciate that. At
Hell
the beginning, I was like, what the fuck? Mom, I want this BMW. Why can't I have it?
That's
And
awesome.
then once my dad, said, you know what, you're gonna earn that, and he gave me a hand me down, and he
Taught you well.
He understood the value of the dollar.
Shout out to Pops. Todo bien.
Pops, Mom.
That's great, Doc. So you got to this point. So like I said, knowledge yourself. So we're trying to identify where you got the spark, where you became aware, where you got the self-concept, where you got the self-knowledge, and then you projected it out. Knowledge yourself, right?
Yeah, I think the spark, back to the spark.
Yeah.
I think people around me were growing, and I didn't want to be left behind, and that scared me.
Okay. See, now we're getting into the good stuff.
That scared me.
So
Fear was a giant spark, and just not being exactly who I wanted to be.
So that was your motivation.
That was my motivation, seeing other people grow in front of you, and I just couldn't be left behind.
People sometimes get fear, and then they like coil up and like, oh, let me just have this
Absolutely.
corporate job.
Absolutely.
And I'm making this amount of money, and it's good for now. Like, and they don't take that.
They don't take that leap of faith.
Correct.
So
the fear.
And it's because
gave
that
you
was
the
the leap
spark.
of faith is also too. You have to be able to take risk in life, right?
Only
it's
way.
inevitable. It's
Everything's a
inevitable
risk,
to be
man.
when it comes to success, right? But when you do it when it comes to just like success and being surrounded by just like by people on a day-to-day basis and seeing them succeed and grow, and you're not with that, like that for me just freaked me the shit out of me, because growing up I was like the cool popular kid.
Yeah,
you
know?
And not that meant anything. I realized that didn't.
No, it does.
That didn't take me
It does
anywhere.
because I mean, like I was an athlete at school. I practiced. I knew all the crews, all the kids. I was always with everybody. It was cool, but I never really had that spark of like understanding who or what I am, what's going on, because I didn't have the guidance.
Yeah.
But you had your pops and your moms that did it. So,
But my mom and my pops, the thing about them is that they took a different road, right? My road's a little bit different. Yes, I grew up in a great home, and they gave me the pieces, right?
yeah,
To build
which is
on it,
what a
which is-
parent does.
Which is great,
Which
but I
is
think
amazing.
you could be again, back to the spark, it really was just like that fear that we're talking about, oh, this is what my dad was talking about. Don't be this. And we'll always go back.
this.
I'm becoming this.
Got it.
I'm becoming that. I started, as
I don't wanna be that.
As I get exactly, I don't want to be
Because
exactly
letting
like
them
that.
down because of the love, you feel like, damn, I'm letting them down. The same thing.
Fear of other people growing in front of me, fear of letting my mom down. Like fear was really what propelled me to just move forward, right?
And then once you got past it, then
Yeah.
you felt the feeling of success. You're like, oh, I can do this.
Yep.
And then like you just keep doing what you're doing,
Yep.
and that it became your story. That's awesome, bro.
Another thing too, man, it's really important to find a good partner, right?
That's-
I
bro.
think we were talking about this, and I was telling how like my mother and her journey, and like her working hard, and how I looked for that in my wife. My wife is a hard ass worker. My wife is a very successful, yacht broker. She's been doing her thing for quite some time. She's a grinder. She's a hustler. And she's successful, and that pushed me to move forward more too, as well.
Of course.
To get me keep up with that pace, to make sure we keep the
she-
same energy.
I've met her. I know her. She's a nice person. She has good energy, and
Yeah.
she's always been there, console you and talk to you and be there. That's dope, man.
So I'm very fortunate and very blessed they also had that extra push too. Because what you and your own demons in your own head, that's one thing.
Yeah.
Not making your parents happy is another, right? It's all very maternal. But when you're having somebody on a day-to-day basis that you got to work with and live with and just make life happen, and you're seeing her grow, shit, I didn't want to be left behind either.
That's good though. But
You know?
it seems like you're observing, you're understanding, you're computing, and then you're like, all right, I got to do this.
Yeah.
And you don't let fear stop you,
Yeah.
and you keep it moving.
I rummage in the bullshit for a little bit,
Yeah.
and then I get back into my movie seat, and I watch the movie again. And I was like,
How's the movie so far?
This is so far.
Because I watch trailers, little snippets.
So far, man, I'm very blessed. I love where the movie's going. I'm curious to see how it ends.
too.
But it should be good, right? Everything right now is great, man. Like I said, I know I keep saying the word blessed like a million times, but
No, man, we
that's
are, like you said.
That's exactly how I feel right now.
I came up from where I came up and what I became now. I mean, which is not like to brag or something, but it's like I never thought I would make it 40. But the way I was living, I was going buck wild, 1,000 miles per hour.
I remember.
And now it's like, let me get off right here in this exit. Let me go to this rest stop. And then we are where we are, man.
Yeah.
And then fear. So you were talking about movies and your movies and fear.
Yeah.
So we got to the part of the interview where I always ask, you seen the Bronx Tale.
Mm-hmm.
You seen the part where Sonny gets asked by the kid, like, do you rather be loved or feared?
Yeah.
What do you think about that scene?
Man.
Or that question?
It's a good one because I think people that work for me could say that I'm a good hybrid of both, where I get love and fear. I get love and fear. I have a big heart. I feel like I do, and I think
you do.
I like to help people. I like to give back. I like to talk about this with people and give kids an opportunity, right? But there's also the real life in the industry is also very cutthroat. So
it's a thin line.
So you have to be able to
balance.
You always be able to bite back, right? Because the industry will bite back at you, and if somebody doesn't poke you, trust me, somebody else will. Especially if you're in this world, in this industry. So right?
I've said it like, for instance, there's people that say fear, and then there's people that say love, but there's sometimes people that they have fear because they love you. They don't want to disappoint you.
Yeah.
So the fear of disappointing you is what drives them because of the love.
Yeah.
So that was one that we spoke about in another episode, that it kind of went that direction. And then there's some that they say, oh, I'd rather be feared. And I'm like, okay, that's intense,
Yeah.
But that's their ideology.
Fear could own, somebody who fears you, or you're gonna say you're working with a crew. Fear is only gonna get you so far. Because at the end of the day, if you don't have people that are working for you and they're not happy in their situation,
you won't be happy.
It's gonna reflect on the product that you get back.
You'll be miserable, man.
Exactly.
Everybody's afraid of you. It's like, what?
You have to be able to also respect them and show a lot of love back to them.
Correct, but it's difficult at times, man, because I know you work with young people, and young people nowadays kind of lose their moral compass in a way, because it's like, yo, what'd you say, or what? Like, yo, you really telling me this right now? Like you don't understand. You don't talk to a person like that. Like, and sometimes I gotta take the barbers aside and be like, yo, man, I'm a grown ass man. You gotta talk.
Yeah, but the delivery and how you deliver that information is really
correct.
Crucial.
But once you change the tone, they kind of like switch it. And usually when it's around people, that's something I've learned. You don't discuss anything around other people, because then they feel like threatened.
Of course.
But if you take them to the side and you're like, yo, come here and let me talk to you.
Yeah.
And then you address it, it's a totally different conversation.
I mean, that's how people grow. No one's gonna be receptive to you guys bitching at them and putting them down and belittling them and what they do in their craft.
Nowadays, barbers in the shop, they're divas, man. They watched a couple of YouTube videos. They found out a couple of tricks and they think they're hot shit. And I'm like, no.
Artists in general, artists in general could.
Yeah, but now in my world, the barber world is getting to that point.
Yeah,
and that's why I'm like, yo, you guys gotta chill, man, and have a little bit of understanding of there's steps to this. You gotta pay your due.
Yeah.
Like there's a barber DM me and was like, yo, man, I love your podcast. How do I get on it? I'm like, yo, you got to pay your dues.
Yeah.
And then he's like, all right, how much? I'm like, what? He thought I was talking about like paying me money. I was like, no, man, you got to like build your name up, build your brand, get to a point where it's like, okay, now this is interesting. Let's see how you did it. Mm-hmm. But he didn't understand.
One of the key things about growing and, is eliminating and having the right people around you. And I think I did that really well in my
because of
process.
Your big
heart. Exactly. I have a big heart, and I give a lot of people a lot of chances, but there's just some people that just don't benefit, give you any, don't bring anything to the table anymore, And as a human, as an adult, you're developing, you're going in a different direction. And there's just some people that are just not going in your same direction.
You think it's like using people and their talents for as long as it is, or is it more like adjusting to what you have on the table?
No, I think it's more of just like personal growth. Like in order for you to grow personally, like anybody who can think selfishly about themselves.
Yeah.
I think people have enough energy. There's enough energy in the room when you're with a friend that can put you in a different mindset, right?
Yeah, it's all about energy and attitude.
Energy and attitude,
That
and
comes
then
from the thought.
you know,
intuition.
if you have a friend that's always on a downer, 9 times out of 10, whether you probably have a 5% level of downer, being down to as well.
Yeah,
your day to day.
today I had a talk with a barber. She came in and she was pissed because she came in the little scooters, and not that she was like being a little crazy, but she's kind of crazy. And she came in and she was just like, "Oh my God, they almost ran me over," and talking. This is the first things I hear from her. So I look at her and I'm like, "Good morning," like, and she's like, "No, man, these people are." So I waited. Yes, sir. I waited for the right time, and then I was like, "Hey, don't you think that maybe because of your attitude of everything that's happened on the way to work when you get here, you're not prepared, yo?" Because then she's like, "Who's next? Okay, come on, let's go." And I'm like, "Yo, man, that's not how you want to greet or take people. You want to talk to them. Hey, hi, how are you? How you doing?"
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I've always, when I see you, I'm like, "Yo." Doesn't matter how long we haven't seen each other. The vibe, the energy is there. And I try to tell her that, "Yo, your mindset is off."
Yeah.
Or is, if you don't understand that, it's because nobody's told you directly.
Yeah.
So you need to chill. So back to your point, yeah, because you always came with good energy. So guess what? People gave you that back. So then the avenue's open.
Yep.
And you kept moving forward.
Yep.
So okay, so fear and love both at the same time.
Yeah.
All right. And then the other one, I love this one. Perception or reality? Perception or reality?
It's a good one.
It's a great one.
Because I don't want to go ahead and say, I want to default to your first question. I'm good.
You're good?
And say the hybrid of both. But there is a balance, right? When you look at all these, and again, for me personally, from like, hey, listen, I have to be this, this producer who's got to sell this lifestyle of some sort, right? Whatever that's high fashion, whether if that's like the cool TikTok kids, perception and what you put out there is important. You know what I'm saying? But the reality is what you got to worry about on a day-to-day basis with yourself,
Which
right?
is the work.
Which is the work, right? So, you could go ahead and you could drive a, $100,000 car really quick. You know what I'm saying? The perception you put out there, oh, this guy's successful. But the reality is that you're in debt. You can't do shit. You can't really go out. You probably have
in Miami, it's a lot of perception.
A lot of that. It's a lot of that, But it's also how you also have to play the game.
Okay. So the reality is how you play the game.
Yeah.
Therefore, you could create the perception.
Exactly.
Nice.
As long as you understand your reality, you know what I'm saying, and where that's going, and don't get lost in the perception, because then your perception becomes your reality.
Bing, which falls into knowledge of self.
Yeah.
Listening to your intuition, having a self-concept, being self-aware.
Sitting down and watching your movie.
Therefore, I like that. Therefore, it doesn't matter what occurs around you.
Yeah.
Like, you know who you are. You know what you are about. You know what you want. You have a direction. You're following it. And all this is our stop signs and pop-ups and distractions.
In my world, there is a perception you gotta be able to put out there.
Yeah, the professional limelight, right? Or the Hollywood, whatever.
Of course.
Oh, you're being Hollywood. It's like, yo, that's what it is.
That's just what the game is. And again, not everybody has that game, But, you have real estate agents that are, making great money, you know what I'm saying? But they got to be able to rock the nice cars. They got to be able to come and
like
and
my
paint
boy
this picture.
Johnny Cash, he was here last podcast, man. He went from being a producer in music with a local band, Mayday, and they got signed to Strange Music. They toured, they did the whole nine, but then he was like, yo, man, this is not exactly how I thought it would be.
Yeah.
So then he dabbled in real estate, and now he's selling multi-million-dollar homes, getting his dues, That's dope.
Good shit. Good shit for your
So
boy.
it happened to him,
Yeah.
like you mentioned. All right, and the last question, this one's new. I just came up with it. Wealth or riches?
Wealth.
Wealth all day?
Wealth all day. Riches could be temporary here, there, everywhere.
So your wealth is generational.
Generation. You want to be able to pass something down,
Wow.
And whether that's knowledge, whether that's actual, having a zeros in your bank account, a bunch of zeros in your bank account, right? I think wealth is probably, for me personally, and I don't know if anybody you asked that question to other people and like,
yeah, I asked the last podcast. Yeah.
Riches, I could be rich today and be broke as fuck tomorrow.
But with knowledge, you'll always be
But wealth, you can be able to pass that down, right? So
Nice.
That's an easy one for me.
Less tangible, more spiritual. Oh, that's dope. That's deep. I like that. Nice. All right, Chris. So yeah, we talked about pretty much your upcomings, the spark, where you made the decision making. You went to New York, Cali. You experienced all different types of cultures, coast to coast, literally.
Coast to
You
coast.
fell down 99 times. You got up 100 times, and you're still swinging.
Still swinging, baby.
And now you're married.
Married.
What's up with the kids, man?
And we're working on that. Working on that. Yeah.
You're practicing?
We're practicing. Definitely practicing. Getting it in. No. But like I said, my wife and I, there was a whole moment that we decided to just concentrate on ourselves and I guess our growth, right? And that's from a career standpoint. She's grown her career immensely.
Nice.
I've grown in my career immensely. And just recently we were like, you know what? It's time. So
I want to go to that baby shower.
We're on that journey.
I want to go to that baby shower.
It's going to be lit.
I know. Yo, Chris, throw some parties, man. This guy his energy is awesome.
I got that from my mom.
It was great, yeah. And he's Colombian mom?
No, my mom's Dominican.
Your dad's Colombian.
So yeah. My dad is Colombian, mom is Dominican. So you already know the household is fired up at all times.
Dude, it's fun, man. When you throw a jam, and especially in your crib, we hung out there a couple times. It's nice. It's dope. Yeah. But all right, man. Let the people know exactly what's coming up, where to look for you. Let them know your handles and all that.
Yo, also, obviously, you guys know my name is Christopher Michael Diaz. They call me CMD. Instagram is GoCMD. That's GOCMD. And as far as where I'm going, I mean, listen, as long as you guys are, putting hair products in your hair and making yourself look beautiful, ladies, IGK is one of the greatest things in the world, greatest brands in the world. R&Co is another one. One size for your girls that love makeup on there. You know what I'm saying? Just go ahead and log on. Actually, can we cut that part out?
That went well. I like that because it's natural. All right. And then the other one is let yourself know. Like, if you can time travel right now and speak to yourself and that high school kid that still didn't have the spark, what would you tell that kid?
Keep going.
Keep going.
Keep going. And the reason is, at that time, I didn't know where I wanted to go.
Yeah,
so if you keep going, you're telling me if I spoke to my younger self, keep it moving, Chris, because you're going to get there at some point.
You're not going to tell him that LeBron was going to come to the Heat.
Yo, dude, those are the greatest years ever.
Dude, you were here for that. That was amazing.
That was amazing.
That was so much fun.
Let's run it back.
I
wish.
We'll see,
Those are the good times.
I still love my team, though. The Heat all day. Yeah. Heat culture all day. Yeah. But Chris, man, thank you for coming. I appreciate you, man. I love you, man. You're always welcome to come here and share your story. If something new comes up or pops up.
This is great.
Yeah, man. That's why I wanted you also to come, because I wanted you and Roger from Creative Currency to link up, because you guys have creative minds, and I know that together you make some.
What a name, Creative Currency. I love that.
Yeah, I loved it, bro. It's all falling into piece, like boom, 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 boom. I was like, yo, this. It was written. And we're just playing out the movie.
Let's go.
Chris, thank you again, man. Have a good one, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Check out Chris. Go check out his work. Go check out the product lines. I mean, he has this stuff on private, but if you request, I'm sure he'll let you go. All right, man. Live, love, laugh. Peace.